This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
MyBookie presents Shake Them Ropes. New customers, double your deposit using the code ROPES. Also this week, we are sponsored by Keeps. More on them later. I am Jeff Hawkins. He is Chris Novembrino. Chris, there was a whole lot. We watched almost everything. What was the thing, or what was something you actually liked this week?
Oh, ho, ho. Oh, you are putting me on the spot right now, Mr. Hawkins.
All right, I will go first then, and I will give you time to think.
Yes, please.
really liked the cage match between Rhea Ripley and Mercedes Martinez. I thought that was great. I thought it was brutal. It felt like a fight in a cage versus a wrestling match in a cage at times. And if what appears, it looks like Mercedes Martinez is the voice behind Retribution, spoiler alert, then it's a fitting send-off for her, the way they did it. But no, I really enjoyed that. Not a whole lot for me to enjoy the rest of the week, but your turn.
Wait, you think she's the leader of Retribution? I thought it was Dijak.
Well, Dijak's in there, but the voice, the internet is undefeated, Chris. And they took off the voice modulator. That is Mercedes Martinez doing the talking.
Oh, okay. All right. I am looking at this. What did I think was actually good? I got into my comments to you from the AEW show. It's a bit of a desert over there right now. I feel like there was something in Raw that I didn't hate here at some point. That might be wrong though. This was a tough week, Jeff. This is you know what I like? You know what I like in general, even despite the Cedric Alexander stuff, I always like the Hurt Business. I like MVP. I like Shelton Benjamin. I like Bobby Lashley. I thought that Shelton was doing a good job playing into the being suspicious to Cedric Alexander thing. Hurt Business. They keep me watching. And you know what else I like? I like Roman and Jimmy Uso.
Okay.
Yeah, like I like this story. There's other stuff around this story specifically I don't care for, but the familial intensity between the cousins, I like that. I like that Roman's changing. I even liked a lot of the execution of tonight. If you didn't have Baron friggin' Corbin in this mix here, I think just the dynamic between Jimmy and Roman, that really works for me. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, the other thing I liked, I liked it, I didn't love it. I liked Bayley's promo tonight. She had a verbal miscue, and I can't believe they didn't retape it. I think they did, because she goes, "That's what made me two belts Banks." She covered for it real quick.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was just like, well, hold on here, guys. We have tape. We're not, I hope they weren't live. I think they might have been, though. Yeah, they were. They were live because of the Thunderdome.
I don't like that everyone's, all these stories are depending on the, it was a plan all along, twisteroo.
Well,
yeah.
Let's talk about that first hour of Raw. Because to a person, you, myself, and I think it was Brian Rose from F4W, we're 42 minutes in, and everybody was commenting on, my God, we're only 42 minutes in. These stories were mostly the same. Teams that had broken up or squabbling or whatever. It was just, the stories made no sense. Like that Billy Kay Peyton Royce thing. where last week she throws her into Raw Underground, and then this week she beats her clean, and then they make up.
They have this emotional moment that doesn't get lingered on in the slightest by commentary. So,
but the camera lingers on it like a long time.
When they're hugging, no, like they actually they zip over to the commentary table.
Well, yeah, okay,
yeah, like, and then commentary, of course, moving right along. Yeah. But the other thing is, even during the match, commentary's talking about a lack of animosity and intensity between Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. And Billie Kay comes out. She is dressed up and acting heel-ish in her new getup. Peyton comes out. She is also acting heel-ish in her entrance.
Her entrance.
Yeah.
Needs a little practice.
It's not great.
Needs a little practice because it looked like she wanted to do something very choreographed and she slipped. I died at this. I was like, who let that on national television before adequately getting it? And the problem is, of course, we have to do it live when you don't, because what I don't understand. Okay, the Thunderdome's great and all, but it's not a necessity. You can just put people up there on screens and...
at this point, Jeff, you could recycle fans and just have generic cheering fans and generic booing fans. And if I was running...
doing.
Yeah, right. Like, that's the move. Yeah, it should just be that. Clappy fans, booing fans. Yeah, make it a canned audience. I mean, it's not great. It's like a live execution version of an actual WWE video game audience, but that's the safest, most predictable way to do it versus, letting it be live to tape and, taking your chances and seeing what happens.
And then the Cedric turn. There's no way to do anything with that program that made sense, because either you're turning somebody out of left field, or you're turning Cedric, who's been beat, unless you say that they never really beat him up, which we know is not real.
No, and we know that that's not real because they actually beat him up to begin this match, Jeff. This is... I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but I really racked my brain all week. I can't think of a more dumb turn. In terms of every possible thing was pushing in the direction of Cedric Alexander to not side with the Hurt Business. Yes, there was an initial flirtation of this. After we got that Oscar-worthy performance last week from TV person woman, who said, Cedric Alexander, you never turned on your friends. And then he didn't turn on his friends. We should have just stuck with it. And it seems like that was initially the plan because the Hurt Business attacks him. And then we get into the match. And then all of a sudden Cedric turns and he starts beating up Ricochet and goobers out Prince Puma, a franchise guy, a guy who's been treated like absolute crap since he's been on the main roster here. And then later on, Cedric Alexander gives a pretty incoherent explanation as to why he's joining the Hurt Business. And then it's still sort of Easter egged in that they left a little seed that maybe this too is a ruse. But Jeff, the beatdown on Ricochet was real. So like Ricochet and Cedric had this conversation in between last week and this week. And Cedric's like, this week, I'm going to beat the crap out of you during our match. And then we're going to have another match and I'm going to beat the crap out of you some more. And I'm going to be a real jerk to you. And then I'm going to take down, and I'm putting this in quotes over here because there is no actual business, the Hurt Business.
And then,
it's not a company. They're not going to get liquidated.
They're an LLC. They're a limited liability corporation because of tax issues. You've beat my ass like 3 or 4 times. Can I be your friend now? Thanks. And then it looks like they're going to do the descent angle between him and Shelton, like right off the bat. They're not even going to be a unit. And then it's going to be, it was my plan all along to foment. Just
Right, I want to create discord. No, like it's pretty clear what the tentative plan is, which is that Cedric's going to try to get into Shelton's head. Shelton's going to actually have the read on Cedric, but Cedric's going to make Shelton seem like he's the crazy one, and then undermine the solidarity between Shelton, Lashley, and MVP, which is dumb because the money is with all three of those guys together. It makes no sense to create dissent unless you were going to turn MVP into a babyface, which makes no sense on the Raw brand right now. MVP as a babyface might make some sense against Roman Reigns, but makes no sense in the Drew McIntyre universe at this moment.
Oh, I know what the other one. It's the Garza, the Garza Andrade split that just has gone on for 12 weeks.
Forever, and in the backdrop of never-ending matches against the Street Profits.
Yes, if you turn on this Raw, you basically are watching the same programs for the past 6 weeks. It didn't, I mean, other than maybe Drew and Orton having some heightening to it because Keith Lee's now involved. That's pretty much, everything. Natty and Lana and Mickie James and Asuka. And it's like, yeah, how many times can we see the Street Profits and Andrade and Garza over and over and over again? I loathe.
I'm trying to get you a concrete answer on this.
No.
Though suffice it to say, there are so many matches. I've got one from July 20th here. We've got one obviously 4 days ago. July 27th, they had a match. They had another match on August 23rd. That was just for a title match. That was
Chris coming with the stats. Keep going.
Yeah, another one on July 21st, July 29th, August 1st. I want to get this further back. They've been having matches since March 24th of 2020. Who could forget that one? That was a brawl. That was Andrade, Angel Garza, and the Street Profits brawling. Let me see. What else do we have here? I've hit August 10th. Obviously there's a bit of a recency bias here. March 23rd. This program has been going on for a very long time, people. I hope you get the point here. It's like a never-ending matches of the Street Profits and Andrade and Angel, and this circular split with Angel, Andrade, and Zelina that has not really created a natural babyface or heel dynamic. It feels like they're going to split up the same way that the Iconics split up, where both Angel and Andrade are heels, and that's going to get no one anywhere.
Yeah, or, because no teams are sticking together because everybody's having problems. But Chris, next week, or at least Monday, 3 days from now, Raw is in your face. As opposed to downer.
Worse than in your house. You don't have a house anymore. You can't afford a house anymore, so you got a face. We can still put it in your face.
As opposed to down your throat, I guess would be. But man, they were pushing that hard on SmackDown. Yeah, up your ass. Raw this week is up your ass.
Raw up your ass. And of course, don't forget about Andrade and the Street Profits having a match at WrestleMania too.
Oh yeah, fight forever, taken literally. There's not much news coming out of the WWE. 60 employees, mostly from live events, but also including furloughed producers such as Mike Rotunda, Jerry Briscoe, and Sarah Stock were all officially let go. Gosh, Chris, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Times are tough.
No, it's really nice to do this right on the same week as the CARES Act didn't get extended too. So it's like, you're getting released, and oh, by the way, good luck with that.
Yeah, that's just, it's like, you know what it signals to me is that this might be planning for future quote unquote live events. And how they're going to do it. They may not have to do house shows anymore. They saw how profitable it was not doing them. We might not have touring brands anymore because why do you need it? You can just have pay-per-views, SmackDowns, and Raw, and that's it because everybody watches the television. Nobody comes to house shows anymore.
I think it probably would help and especially when they want to get live events jump-started again here, making live events a little bit more exclusive. And you run a big show in Chicago this month, in Dallas this month, gives you like a week to get out there ahead of time if you want to do that. And you tape your shows, your Raws, your SmackDowns, your NXTs or whatever in studio, and you're building to these big live events. I actually don't hate that model. I don't know that they're going to do that. I think my gut tells me that, Vince is going to want to get back in front of live audiences and perhaps watching AEW, even with the not greatness of All Out in terms of an in-ring product. I think seeing the live crowds is probably going to give Vince the Jones here to get back in front of live audiences.
It'll be interesting if we can get WrestleMania going by March. It's all going to depend on what happens in the winter.
Yeah. Winter is going to be a big one, and there's like a global factor here too, right? There's stuff that's completely out of control of the U.S.
Yeah, they're testing SoFi Stadium by running football games, but no crowds there this year. So we'll see. The only other news of note I had down here: Taynara Conti now officially AEW. I like her. I hope she improves. I'd send her to Japan for a year. Bring her back. Let her be a killer. Occasionally do shows in the States. But she has personality. I just want her...
No, get her seasoned, because I think she's like a champion type of person. I think she is a champion caliber type of talent, but she needs to just have a real crispness with the moves and the timing. I love the judo in her offense. I think she's fun as both the baby face, but she's also good as a little cocky heel too. And she's, as I said, I view her as a championship caliber talent. She just needs a little bit more polish.
Agreed. So I paid for All Out on Saturday. I somewhat regret paying for All Out on Saturday. I may just skip the next AEW pay-per-view and wait to hear if it's good or not, and then I'll buy a replay. My days of stealing pay-per-views are over. But, boy, this show, do they...
I think if you're talking about the price point, right? Like, this is compared to what WWE charges. What's it, 5 times the amount?
Now, yes.
Yeah, right.
Back in the day, it was kind of comparable.
But this is not back in the day. I'm talking about the year 2020 here. So for $10 here, if you timed it right, you could have gotten SummerSlam and Payback, both of which were pretty watchable live events, for $10. Or you could pay $50 and have gotten this show.
It wasn't that the matches were bad, per se. It was just the matches, everybody wanted to do everything they wanted to do, and nobody said no. You did have a few bad, like the Matt Sydal shooting star. God,
I mean, like, that killed that match, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And also the finish to that match was stupid, too. But, like, you have this big re-debut of Matt Sydal, who you give this key feature spot of the Joker card, and out comes Matt Sydal, and he takes a senton to no one. He botches the shooting star press. And the worst part about it too is, as he's coming down to the ring, his Titantron advertises his move, SSP. It's on the screen right for you to see. You're like, oh yeah, Matt Sydal, he had a really good shooting star press. I haven't seen him in a while. What's it look like? Well, it doesn't look so hot these days, is the punchline there. And that was bad enough that they needed to, give it the Dark Order treatment here and just not even feature it on this week's Dynamite. Which is ridiculous, because this guy was in this featured spot of being the Joker, or the Joker card or whatever. And that means that he's not going to win, right? Usually, unless you're doing a real hot shot angle. But that's usually for a heel. But it still means that you brought this person in with the plans of doing something with them. And the first thing that this person did when they arrived on our television screen is botch their signature move. That sucked. And it was not helped by the fact that the finish of this match was very stupid. And Eddie Kingston and Eddie Kingston climbing onto the turnbuckle and getting on one side of it and getting on the other side of it. And this week claiming that he wasn't eliminated by the rules. And I kind of thought that was what was going on. But like at the same time, if the refs are down there on the floor and watching all of this, it's as though they've made an official ruling on this. Which was the dumb part here. Like the conceit has already been made. And it was just a silly finish. I don't even know that the right guy won. I actually kind of think that Eddie Kingston should have won. I think Lance Archer, they burned the card with Lance Archer a little too soon. I think they should have played it. They should have waited to play it. They still should have been building him up, but it is what it is right now.
Hey guys, Jeff Hawkins here for Keeps. And I'm going to tell you a story about desperation. If you've ever seen me on AfterBuzz or on Fightful, you'll note I still wear a baseball cap because I hate being bald. I do. I hate it. If you don't know, there are only 2 approved hair loss products out there, and I've used both of them. I started losing my hair at around 17 or 18, and back then, treatments were new, and I went to my family doctor, and I got a prescription for that name brand minoxidil product, and it was the weaker dosage than what's out there today, and it was way more expensive than what's available now. I mean, like 10 times as expensive. A few years later, I sent a cashier's check to someone I didn't know to get the other treatment, and I was cutting pills and other dangerous stuff you just shouldn't be doing. And eventually I was unable to get that medication, and all my attempts were for nothing, and all my hair fell out. But Keeps is great because all this is handled by them. I wish it had been around in the early 90s. You have a consultation with a doctor online. It's discreet. The medication in its proper dosage is delivered to you right at home in the mail every 3 months, so you have a supply. Because these treatments take time to work their magic, and you have to stick with it. You can prevent this, but you have to start early. Treatments start at $10 a month, which makes me really jealous. And for a limited time, you can get your first month free. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/shakeropes, all one word, to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's KEEPS.com/shakeropes. Matt Hardy goes off a scissor lift, basically misses tables he was supposed to hit, jumped over one, got the bottom half of his body on another. Obviously looked knocked out to me.
Oh, well, yeah, look at where his head finishes up.
Yeah.
After because he doesn't get the tables the right way, his head takes a clear,
This killed the pay-per-view for me.
Skull. Yeah.
I couldn't concentrate after this. I was just like, how do they, and also, how do you let them, after a few moments, go and do the finish of this match?
So
it really
I came
just
into
took
this
me out
show
of everything.
late, and I had to circle back around and watch this match. I've read a lot of people say that this took them out of the pay-per-view. Completely made sense to me when I went and watched it on the back end. But I gotta tell you, if you thought that watching Matt Hardy, a guy who you like and enjoy and have watched for years, in some cases grew up watching and maybe tried to dress like at some point in high school if you're of a certain age, to see Matt Hardy, his face was going purple there, man. He looked bad. They should have stopped the friggin' match. This is an undercard feud. This isn't an important match, and they if anything, this feud sort of overstayed its welcome. Just go home on it. Just finish out the match. That sucked, man. But I gotta tell you, that's not why the tooth and nail match with Big Swole and Britt Baker sucked. That match sucked on its own merits, Jeff. But if you had seen the prior
That's
match,
the hot opener, too.
Yeah. Then we get to the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express, and of all of the all of the matches on this card, this was probably the match I enjoyed the most. And I didn't at that time go, oh, wow, they're having a bad show. When I was watching this match, I thought it was fine. You're sort of turning the Young Bucks here a little bit. They're doing a little bit of cornering stuff. I think the Young Bucks work better as heels anyways. There's a spot for cocky, undersized, high flyer guys who work in tandem with one another. A lot of their match really does work naturally for heeldom. So I liked that match. I thought that match was pretty good.
I liked Sheeta and Thunder Rosa. That was my favorite match of the night. Which is odd because I was so looking forward to FTR versus Omega and Paige, and that thing had about 5 near falls too many, in my opinion.
And that's what I was going to say about Sheeta and Thunder Rosa. Here's where we start to see the telegraphing of like a recurring problem in AEW, which is these big matches get way too many near falls. And samey feeling near falls. Yeah, like it's not just like getting 2 counts. Like eventually, obviously, especially
it's the Vince McMahon. This is it. 1, 2. He kicked out.
Yes. In the same way that Vince's understanding of tag team wrestling is exclusively limited to an understanding of the principles of the hot tag. Like there is a thing that's happening with near falls in both companies where it is almost always big move, kick out. Like here's just an example of another way to get out of a near fall like this. Have the person roll outside so they can't be pinned. Like, and you saw that with Keith Lee almost a couple of weeks ago when he got hit with the RKO, and then Drew McIntyre came in. Keith Lee was actually rolling out of the ring, so like Randy wouldn't have been able to pin him. But actually have that in a match. Like we haven't seen that in a while.
I guess this will bridge us also into Dynamite a bit. Well, now we need to talk about Jim Ross. Jim Ross makes a comment about Anna Jay having a wardrobe malfunction and then says, I guess that's just me hoping, or something like that. And then he goes on Twitter.
His online was not good either.
Yeah, no, his apology wasn't good, and then he said, lighten up. And I'm just, you can't apologize and then say, we're wrong for being angry at it. Now, I want to bridge this into something else because on Dynamite...
Real quickly, though, I thought he was going to get in trouble for repeatedly calling her a Jezebel and something else. Like, I mean, he's dancing around the S word pretty heavily here.
Yeah, Jezebel's one that Dusty liked to use on Baby Doll, so I'm a little bit more used to it. That might be...
No, I'm
me being
used
too
to
old.
Yeah, I'm used to it in an old-timey context, but like I think Jezebel is one of those words that maybe Jim hasn't actually like looked up the actual Webster's definition of in a while here.
Yes.
And it might be time to take, sometimes you run into that. You got a word that's in your vocab. It's maybe not as problematic as the specific one we're talking about here.
Like him in Oriental.
Yeah, right. You just haven't looked up, in a while that like, oh, actually that means something else. Hey, it happens. This is an instance of that, I would suggest.
But it transitions well into an issue that he had on Dynamite where when they do the Alex Marvez bit with the Young Bucks, it's obvious that's supposed to be like, for our fandom at least, this I think as well. You remember when Nikita Koloff sickled David Crockett? And it was such a shock moment. Ross comes out and goes, well, I guess he got invited to a super kick party. And you're just like, no, Jim. Everybody's trying to be dead serious about this. And you're cracking a joke. And this is the big issue with Jim Ross right now. For me, at least. The announcer is playing a character on a television show. It's not Jim Ross the person. It's Jim Ross the announcer. And if he can't stay in character, if he has to continually comment on things as Jim Ross, talent relations supervisor, which we've been over before in terms of that theory, he needs to go. If he can't maintain focus and stay in character, he needs to go. It's just that simple because...
Well, he talked such a good game on his podcasts and stuff for years about what needs to happen on wrestling commentary, but when he's on the mic, he doesn't seem engaged, and if he doesn't like the product he's watching now, if he doesn't think that the storytelling in the ring is necessarily easy to do commentary over and tell cohesive plots, because like, for example, sometimes limbs get worked and it doesn't mean anything, or sometimes it looks like you're doing limb work and then the other guy just stops selling it entirely, so it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're not telling that story. And like I get how that could be frustrating for someone who has to, improvise a live call over these matches here. You'd want a little bit more coherence, but you got to be engaged, man. Tony at least seems like he's having fun, even when he's not necessarily nailing it or, kind of killing it on the call here. And Excalibur definitely, seems engaged. But Jim Ross, his credibility is supposed to be what gets over this product. And he feels like he suffers from the same I'm a guy playing a guy on TV thing that Kenny Omega does, only on commentary.
I think it's slightly different. And I'll posit this. He's the guy living off of the reputation as the great announcer. So all I gotta do is go in there and announce, and I'll be great. As opposed to the character thing, you have
He's
it on
a cover band of Jim Ross at this point. He's like the aging rock group that can't really quite play their own hits anymore, but they can play them well enough, and they did write them.
Well, what you said is he needs to. I mean, concentrating and being engaged takes effort. And it takes a mindset that I have to put in effort. And when you've been called great for so long, I don't need to put in that much effort. I'll get it. It'll kick in. It's a reflex. No. And it's just, it's becoming like the faux pause. How many does he get before we say we can't have this on our television?
Yeah, there's that. And then the other part of it is, I just feel like Ross needs to be talking with the talent that he is calling the matches of and discuss with them, what do you want me to get over on commentary tonight? What are we trying to get over on commentary tonight? Where do you kind of think this match is going to go between you guys tonight?
What's the story of this match?
Right. Just simple stuff so that his call is on the same page as the talent's match. That might give him a product that he's more engaged with watching, and it will certainly help him with having these moments where he's lost as to what's going on right now or what he's watching. And then he'll reflect that by just laughing at it and mocking this thing that he doesn't understand. That's not to excuse some of this stuff is good. I'm just saying that's also happening with Ross at the same time.
Yeah. Before we continue, gonna give a shout out to one of our sponsors this week, MyBookie. Summertime, and at MyBookie, that can mean only one thing. It's winning season. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means free bets, super contests, Survivor, and more. At MyBookie, winning season is all about your chance to win big. Bet the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, UFC. Oh, and guess what, kids? Football started this week. The craziest sports summer of your lifetime is here. It's simple. Make your picks, win big, collect your cash. Invest in your intuition, select from hundreds of future bets, or you can bet games in real time with MyBookie's live betting. Put that big brain of yours to good use. Use promo code ROPES, that's ROPES, and double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play, designed to add more excitement to the sports you love and the games you bet. Thousands of cross-sport wagers, props, and parlays await. Sign up now to bet with the best and celebrate your victory. Your winning season begins today, only at MyBookie. We thank them for sponsoring Shake Them Ropes for the past few weeks. Go there, bet a lot, bet what you can, make money, and then tell them that Shake Them Ropes sent you. Use code ROPES. So, Chris, the debut of Miro.
Oof. All right. It's hard to believe that this guy was once built and presented in such a way where he could credibly enter the ring on a tank. And this guy with the bleach blonde hair in his baggy clothing. I've been told it's expensive baggy clothing, but it's baggy clothing that did not make him look like a superstar. Coming out here, talking about being a video game streamer. So here's the worst part about the Miro promo. Okay, actually, I've got several parts here. I'm going to be going on for a second here, Jeff. Sorry. So
I yield my time to the speaker.
yeah. So first and foremost, he comes out and he talks about how he has been stifled by the other company. You know that company. You know the one. But then, in an effort to create an instant bond with the audience, what does he immediately return to and start crutching on? Rusev Day. Only under his new name that he'll be wrestling under, Miro, which is like his real name. But like, it's Miro Day. So we're immediately going back to being a less kind of catchy, rolling off the tongue, chantable sort of gimmick of Miro Day. Maybe even doing some sort of weird cover band version of that, or like a bizarro version of that with Kip Sabian. And then the next part is like, he comes out, he starts talking about his Twitch stream, which is not really, like, if you're a wrestling fan, you know him because he wrestled on another show. Like, you're way more likely to know him because he's a wrestler and you've seen him wrestle. He wrestles on a bigger company. And he's wrestled before this company that you're watching him on right now even existed. Like, this is how you know this man. It's not by his Twitch stream. But then he plugs his Twitch stream, which obviously, of course, you're not allowed to have a Twitch stream anymore in WWE because WWE going to WWE. But they have, over in AEW, decided to make the face of the WWE are a bunch of jerks because they won't allow you to have a Twitch stream. They've decided to make Kip Sabian, of all people, who is a twerpy heel, who is currently involved in a classic heel wrestling angle, a wedding. You're going to have this guy be the face of the Twitch stream movement. And I get it. Yes, he has a Twitch stream. So do a lot of people in wrestling. So you pick someone who makes more narrative sense to do that with. But then Miro, I was going to call him Rusev. He was doing the Rusev Day thing the whole time. He cuts this promo, and it's neither heel nor face. It's just like angry, and he ends it with, and I'm all elite. And now he's paired with Kip Sabian, and if they're building to a Kip Sabian and Miro feud, is this really like the right introductory feud for Miro? And also, this is a guy who I just think should be coming in here and being presented as immediate competition for Mr. Brody Lee as a babyface. Someone who Mr. Brody Lee's legitimately scared of. Also, if you're trying to draw eyes off of WWE, who you're kind of sort of in a ratings war with now that you've broke 1 million, right? That's kind of a big deal, right? Having Luke Harper versus Rusev in a much more interesting dynamic than WWE managed to pull off while they had those two guys under their tent, that is something that'll get eyes on the product for people who are interested in what those two guys are doing, provided you actually presented Miro the right way.
Yeah, I have a strong suspicion that Miro starts here and then they're going to try and build him because they didn't want to put him immediately in the main event slots because ex-WWE don't want to do that. I'll throw in some points here. Number one, he's with Kip Sabian, who is nobody right now in the pecking order. He's a guy.
I really like Kip Sabian. I like the Kip Sabian Penelope Ford act. I am on record with that. I like those two. I think they've got something, but they're nowhere in the pecking order. It's a horrible place to come in.
It's a horrible place to come in. He comes in as the third beat of a comedy sketch. Because remember, we had two other best mans, including Brian Pillman Jr., come in first. And he comes in, again, designer clothing, but looking like what he was wearing at home, pretty much. Cuts a promo straight out of TNA about how Vince McMahon wouldn't let him have the brass ring, blah, blah, blah. And look, here's where I was having an argument with people on the Twitter, and this is a problem for me.
It's the uncliche promo, right? Like,
yes.
Vince would talk about the brass ring and stuff, and then you go to the new company and you go, the brass ring's alive, man.
If you are cutting a promo to differentiate your product from the other wrestling company, I get that, because that's been happening since territories were around and everybody was slagging on Vince's horrible, clownish, childish thing to sell toys and candy, and it was the circus. You know, ECW called it the circus. Arn Anderson would come out on NWA television and go, "Hey, you know what? We don't wear fancy boas and all this other stuff, but there is an amount of camp in pro wrestling that's in it. But this is the kind of promo where you're whining about basically being fired from another job." And
there's another problem here too with the anti-brass ring thing. If the brass ring is a lie, man, what are you over here in AEW to accomplish?
yeah, exactly. It's
Trying to get the brass ring?
and the thing is, to me, a guy like Miro is the easiest kind of guy to rehab because all you got to do is have him kill a guy. If he comes as a killer, as an assassin, as a bounty hunter, as whatever,
He puts the camel clutch on people week after week after week, tapping out all of your enhancement talent, beating up 2 guys, 3 guys, classic Vader build. Super easy. The way that Ryback was being built in the last decade. You have him do that for a month, he is completely ready to go.
but instead they pander to the goodwill of the fans, which I think is a tactical mistake. And then he plugs his Twitch stream, which I don't want to hear that Matt Cardona plays with toys. I don't want to hear it goes back to the Jim Ross point. There's a certain world we're trying to build here, guys.
Rusev Day 2 is member berries.
Yes.
Hey, remember when he was doing Rusev Day?
Hey,
He loved Rusev
remember
Day.
Vicky Guerrero yelling "excuse me" all the time on WWE television? Didn't you love that too? It becomes derivative. It becomes WWE derivative, which AEW doesn't want to be.
Yeah, and then, like, I mean, you know, and the stuff that is, you know, kind of the pure AEW or whatever, like Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, Young Bucks, and all of that stuff, like, that's a mess. We haven't even talked about the Tag Team Championship match yet.
Well, we talked about it a little. We said there are too many kickouts.
Oh, yeah, we definitely said that. But, I mean, like, they didn't have good chemistry, though. I like...
No, it felt like Kenny and Adam were making we'll call them the revival, the revolution, or FTR, whatever you're going to call them.
The revelation? Yeah.
The revelation. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Jeez, I'm all right,
yeah,
messing up I love the team. I love those guys. You know I do, because I love Tully.
I love them too, right? Like, I was also in Dallas, like, TakeOver Dallas, man. Like, these guys are good. These guys are like one of my favorite teams of the last decade. If I had to make a list, there's no doubt they'd be in the top 5.
But here's what it felt like. It felt like they were forced to wrestle the match that Kenny and Paige wanted to wrestle, as opposed to them calling the match in the ring. It felt like they deferred a bit. That's what it felt like to me.
And also the dynamic between these 4 characters has gotten very weird and confused.
Oh, it's become histrionic.
Yes. Yeah.
It's become the Adam Page, oh, why don't the Elite like me anymore type of story. And
but
it's
even
just
the FTR guys turned into mustache twirlers at the end of, like,
Yeah.
we were getting in your head and we were messing with you this whole time. But, like, that didn't necessarily... It's weird how that played out with, you know, Omega and Page, and then, you know, the Omega and Page interviews from this week on Dynamite didn't really help anything either.
Well, it's so weird because it was almost like the tag team celebration was a big middle finger to Jim Cornette in a way. Because you have the classic, we're going to celebrate, and we have this big old cake here. You have Chekhov's cake there in the middle of the ring. You're expecting them to go through the cake. Or someone to get his head put, or Tully's head to get put in the cake. No, it was just there so everybody could have a piece of cake.
Yeah, at the end, the baby faces stand tall. Okay, so here's why I didn't have a problem with that narratively. I didn't.
I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was a little too
sense.
clever by half. But yeah.
Okay, so here's what I like about it. It telegraphs that FTR is about to go over on these guys. So whenever all these good guy tag teams are paired up together, they should be able to scare the hell out of FTR, and FTR should be able to rub in their face all these victories. I'm with you. Like, I feel like narrative dictates that FTR gets a taste of their cake if they're going to get the taste of victory here for the next 6 months. But I didn't necessarily hate the idea that the baby faces win and they're the ones who are eating the cake for right now.
I didn't hate it. I was just, it was like, what are they doing here? Because
It's
they
a
come
swerve
out
for the sake of a swerve, right?
Yeah, it was a weird. It was a weird, like, lame swerve because they're standing there waiting for Marco to dump the cooler on them. You know, a few seconds too long. I'm like, okay, are they going to go back in the ring and then get the cake? But no, it was just there so that Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy could have a piece of cake. But I don't mind the segment because Tully, speaking for 20 seconds, engaged me like nobody else. That guy has the fire in his promo still. That's what I want. And it's, you know.
No, I think that, FTR is going to be fine.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be fine because they're getting away from the Hangman Page, Kenny Omega stuff.
Yeah.
I think the Hangman and Kenny thing is going to be, I think that's going to fizzle out. I don't see that feud getting white hot. I see it more going the fizzle direction. Speaking of fizzle, you know what has a little bit of fizzle in it? A mimosa. You like that? You see what I did there? Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho, they had a match here, a Mimosa Mayhem match. And let me tell you, buddy, chaos ensued.
Yeah. It's one thing if Jericho's trying to drown Orange Cassidy in mimosas. That would have been something. The camp level was too high for me. I need, like I said, it has natural camp. It doesn't need help. But if in that moment it becomes, oh, this choice of match was a bad choice because Chris Jericho may kill Orange Cassidy by drowning him. That puts a level of something in there. But this was just, towing around, and then finally you get the payoff. And I guess that's good for a mid-card match, but to me, they're trying to make
mid-card match.
Yeah,
though.
they're trying to make Orange Cassidy.
Event.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to make Orange Cassidy a little bit more serious. So,
yeah, the point when Cassidy was the hottest during this feud was when he got inadvertently busted open and bled all over his leather, or all over his denim jacket, and beat up Jericho all over the arena. If they had gone home on this feud at that point, and then just sold the black and white bloody Orange Cassidy denim jacket, like the meta thing of him doing the thumbs up, of him doing the thumbs up, of him doing the thumbs up or whatever, busted up, boom, you've got your image, you've got your like star making moment. Chris Jericho falling into Mimosa, it's a problem on two levels. One, this is supposed to be a star maker thing, and it's ended in a punchline. Two, the lasting image of the punchline is not Orange Cassidy, it's Chris Jericho who's the one who's laying in the mimosas. So you don't even really end this feud with the focus on Orange Cassidy. It ends on Jericho getting his comeuppance.
Getting sprawled out in the mimosa, and that's the image everybody's going to remember.
Right, yeah.
No, I agree with that.
Image. Especially with the name Mimosa Mayhem. It's whoever went in the mimosa, that's who you remember.
Was hoping for old Grapefruit Cassidy to come out, but nope, that was not
Melon
to be.
Cassidy needed to come out there.
Oh, yeah. The only other thing, is mostly what I think's going to happen with this Eddie Kingston story and the team and the two teams he's managing.
Okay, how do you see that playing out?
I don't think he ends up with either of those guys. I think the Jericho Hager thing starts a rift with Proud and Powerful. I think Kingston gets tired of the Lucha Brothers fighting, and then he gives up on Butcher and Blade. I think he ends up with Proud and Powerful.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
And then our main event here from All In was Moxley versus MJF. And
I'm taking a victory lap. I'm taking a victory lap on that, even though it wasn't a ref bump. It was still ref distraction.
Oh, no, you nailed the finish of this. But this match, this was booked wildly incorrectly.
How so?
Okay, so MJF has lied, cheated, done politics, done lawyers, everything he possibly could to try to win this title here from Jon Moxley. During the course of this match, if you are trying to build MJF as a star, MJF needs to be beating the crap out of Jon Moxley for most of this match. And the person, if you're going to do a blood spot, the person who should be taking the blood spot here should be Jon Moxley, not MJF. Yeah, in a way, I guess it shows that MJF is quote-unquote a tough dude because Jon Moxley beat the crap out of him for a really long time and then beat the crap out of him some more and then eventually won the match as MJF was a bloody mess. But the person who should have been left a bloody mess, who needed to cheat and break the contract that he agreed to sign, should have been Jon Moxley. That would have made the finish that you called, Jeff, basically spot on here, make a hell of a lot more sense than this version of it, where MJF is the bloody mess throughout the whole match. Because it's kind of more like, why can't Moxley get the job done? Versus Moxley's a desperate man, but finds a way to, win one out, and MJF's a cheater too. So, like, you move into this gray area that's far more sympathetic.
No, I agree. I'm trying to remember. I think, man, I still think it might be a bit early to do the Wardlow MJF split.
Oh, I completely agree. And that's super campy too, right? Like the whole Wardlow's doing it for his family. And then why doesn't Wardlow have a contract?
What is that voice there?
That's a sad voice. We're sad for why can't Wardlow get a contract with AEW when everyone else has a contract with AEW, even scrub guys, and Wardlow's on the TV every week, Jeff.
Miro got one, but Wardlow did.
Right. No, Wardlow's been on this show and had matches on this show in the past. Still does not have an AEW contract. What's up, Tony Khan? Let's get on that, buddy. No, there's a lot of stuff. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And one other thing, too, is MJF really didn't do a great job with the blood spot. It was really obvious when he was doing it. Nice job palming it into the mat. The actual flick looked really good. He palmed it the right way, but I shouldn't have been able to see the palming, and it shouldn't have been that obvious.
Yeah, a lot of people pointed that out. That's what's so weird is that when so many people say, "Yeah, I saw him palming it." Yeah. Anything else on AEW? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
What else happened on AEW Dynamite? Did they have AEW Underground this week?
They had Dark, and they had a pretty good debut match from the British kid.
So I like Mr. Brody Lee and Dustin Rhodes. I said this to you when I was watching the main show, and you were asking me for something good here earlier to start the show. I think Dustin Rhodes is fantastic. I think he's had a fantastic last 10 years in wrestling. I think he's been heinously and criminally underutilized in this late stretch of his career. It's amazing that in the year 2020, he's still as good as he is. And when I say as good as he is, I'm not just saying quote unquote for his age. I'm saying he still compares really favorably to a lot of people who perform on both the WWE and AEW roster. And yeah, Dustin Rhodes is always a bright spot for me.
He's popping Tony Schiavone by doing Poison Ranas and Excalibur. Excalibur's what the hell is that guy doing? Yeah, no, I love the guy as well. I enjoyed that match quite a bit. I wouldn't mind seeing Dustin get one last title run down the road as a TV champ.
TNT champion, he's the perfect fit for this. Yeah, he's the great worker guy, good baby face, nice person you can trust in the middle of the pay-per-view to deliver a really good mid-card title match. Dustin Rhodes, I think he's great.
He can brawl, he can promo, he can make me care. That's all I want in wrestlers.
And he's got spots that look good. He does high spots, and he doesn't do a ton of them because he actually, knows how to pick his spots. But everything he does seems purposeful, and everything he does looks really well executed when he does it.
I will go into something else I really liked as we go into NXT. I thought this Finn Balor Adam Cole match was pretty darn good. And I really liked the storytelling they told after the story. They do the two sweep because both were in the Bullet Club at one time. It's obvious to me they're starting to turn Adam Cole here, babyface, by him giving respect to an opponent. But it's going to be a slow turn. It's not going to be that instantly I'm a babyface now. After years of being booed, it's sort of, he's kind of coming around personality-wise, but it was a simple match. It built up to the one fall, and I liked it a lot. I thought this was much better than the four-way where they're just trying to do so much storytelling at once that they couldn't really get any of it right. This one was two guys telling a story here and doing it well.
Yeah, no, this was a really nice way to finish out this angle. One critique of this is it really did make the four-way seem like a way to just fill an hour on NXT last week. But the actual finish of this and the beat of Cole slowly turning babyface and learning how to accept defeat in a graceful way rather than like in a dickish way. I think that was really good. I like that as well. I concur with you.
Tegan Knox went over to the Gargano household. I'm here for heel Gargano and his dad jokes. I like that part of it, but the rest of this sketch...
No, it's like a mess. It's kind of enjoyable to watch, but
it's weird.
It's a real mess. Yeah,
it's weird because they're not hitting a lot of the right notes. But Johnny Gargano being dad joke Gargano, I'm here.
And just like the cattiness between all three of them, like that was kind of. It's not unwatchable stuff. It's enjoyable, but it's weird, and I don't know that I like it.
Yeah. In what might be the most convoluted way to get into an angle of at least the last 2 weeks, Shotzi Blackheart ends up beating up Robert Stone, but going through a little barrier where Io Shirai is, and so Shirai gets mad. And then it ends up being a stare down between Shotzi Blackheart and Io Shirai.
God, that really was a Rube Goldberg machine because it began with Robert Stone trying to sabotage Shotzi Blackheart's tank, and then she started beating up Aaliyah, then runs into Io. Then it ends with, them having this like standoff and holding off the Robert Stone brand, and they're going to have a match. It's a fine placeholder match. I don't think Shotzi's going to win.
Scared and interested in a Shotzi Blackheart Io Shirai match.
Yes, it will be an interesting test of Shotzi.
Io Shirai.
It'll be a test of Shotzi because, like, if Io Shirai can't get Shotzi to where she needs to be, well, there's many question marks that arise after that.
This is that classic, okay, Ric Flair can have a 4-star match with a broomstick.
Yes.
Type of match, type of challenge.
Yeah, well, I don't want to. She's not a broomstick, as I've said in weeks past. There are things that she does
when she is on her game. When she's on her game, she's very good. When she tries to do too much, she gets sloppy. We'll see if Io can guide her through. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I'm not trashing Shotzi Blackheart.
I'm with you. No, you're not trying to take shots at Blackheart? Is that what you said?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Velveteen Dream, I'm done seeing this guy on my TV screen. Can we please move on from him?
Well, we moved on from him to Austin Theory.
Yeah. Right.
Not much better. Hey,
God.
You know what? Can we at least
tag team him?
Look, oh God. And then send them to UK, and then they can be managed by Sid Scala and Joe. Oh, by the way, NXT UK coming back next week. Chris, you ready to add another show to the canon?
Yeah, I can't wait. I thought they already did reignite the Ilya Dragunov Walter feud that you've been on your pins and needles waiting to see.
Oh, yeah. Look, they need to come out and make statements about these guys and say they've been cleared. Otherwise, it just feels creepy having them on TV week after week. Sorry.
They have not been and cannot be cleared. Given the allegations against basically all the guys. I mean, I hate to say blanket statement of everyone on NXT UK, but I can't think of a story on NXT UK where, like, these are pretty strong allegations across the board here against all of these gentlemen, whether it's Austin Theory, Velveteen Dream, or the people in NXT UK we've spoken about.
It has to be a schism in the Undisputed Era that they're doing, right? Because Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish were pure heels here.
Yes, right. And you were talking about weird convoluted angles. The Killian Dane Drake Maverick angle was convoluted.
I hate this angle.
No, it's so stupid.
Now, I hate it. It's the same as the Cedric Alexander angle. Not
No,
exactly.
yeah, no, it's kind of like a Bizarro version of it, where it's like, why would Drake Maverick keep trying to be Killian Dane's friend after he's been punched in the face so many times?
Yeah, that makes you a geek. It doesn't make you a nice guy.
Well, I know he's really angry today, but maybe he'll like me tomorrow. Yeah, no,
maybe if I save him enough times, he'll team with me, and then eventually they're gonna become a team.
Yeah, no, I know they
right?
are. He's gonna melt the big angry man's heart somehow, and that's gonna make the big angry man seem even less impressive. And they've done a decent job rebuilding Killian Dane, who had been knocked down a couple of pegs, needed to be rebuilt a little bit, and they did they were doing an okay job of that. But then he loses to Roderick Strong here this week.
Can I get a Beauty and the Beast montage? Like, they're dancing and, like, the tank is singing Be Our Guest or something like that. He's gonna melt the heart of the big man. It was just your wording that gets me off on this tangent of dumb things we could do with this pairing.
Oh,
because
yeah, no, they're going to go shopping. Drake Maverick's going to introduce him to men's fashion and, kind of like men's toilette stuff. Maybe Manscaped makes an appearance.
Now, see, I'm here for that. I'm here for, like, Bobby Eaton joining the Blue Bloods.
Okay, that's like one of my favorite all time. I mean, there's a lot of things going on there that I really enjoy, but
we're
Bobby
not even
Eaton,
close to that yet because we still have Killian Dane, potatoing Maverick when he comes out to hell. I go, that just. I need a promo to make that make sense. I need Killian Dane to say, "I'm not gonna let a little shrimp like you emasculate me out there." Then it makes sense to me.
But it's so undermining to Maverick's character that has been built up during the year 2020. He was built up as this incredible underdog, such that he lost his job at the, they didn't say this on TV because you can't say COVID on WWE TV. At the height of the pandemic, like when it first started, he loses his job on WWE television. Then he gets to come back in canon or whatever and do this title match. And his reward, though he came up short for the Cruiserweight title, is he gets signed back with WWE, making him the beloved underdog. The underdog's underdog, the person we're all supposed to sympathize with.
He should be in charge of Retribution, quite frankly.
That would be an interesting way to go. But in this case here, when he comes down and gets beat up by Killian Dane, he's supposed to be sympathetic. Killian Dane can't sympathize with Drake Maverick's plight. Like essentially, Drake Maverick's character is supposed to be, even when a heel hates everyone else in the locker room and all the other baby faces, Drake Maverick's the one baby face that even like the most grizzled heel begrudgingly respects because they're a small guy who tries.
Chris, if you had slept with my wife, that doesn't exist, and I was getting my ass beat by a couple of guys, and you came down and saved me, I'd give you a fist bump and maybe buy you a beer. I still wouldn't like you at the end of the day. But you'd get at least something I wouldn't get up and punch you.
Yeah, right. I mean, it makes no sense. Don't be my friend. And if someone did that the first week, that's the implied message there. Why would you? Why? Just why?
Okay, but you have to be in that room, and somebody has to bring up, hey, how can we make this make sense? And then you have storytelling to do, and it's
so you have Drake Maverick come down, do the save on Killian Dane, and then he clears out of the ring, and he's just standing at the top of the ramp. So they're actually distanced from one another, so that Killian Dane can't hit him. This week he's actually learned something. He's still trying to do the right thing, though.
Yeah, there has to be something in Killian's backstory or current story or something where you go, this is why he's doing this, and then it makes sense, because now you're just watching this and going, well, you're just kind of a jerk, and I'm not gonna like you after you pair because I'm just gonna wait for the moment.
It's the charming story of a jerk and an idiot.
Yes, and nobody wants to see that. It's
who can't relate to those two archetypes? Who doesn't want to see themselves in those two characters?
Wow, that babyface keeps getting turned on by his or her friends. Why does he or she keep making bad friends like this?
Wow, I really identify with that angry man with uncontrollable rage problems, even towards people who are trying to help him.
I sympathize with the person who hears music and loses all focus and turns away from the job that they are paid for to see why somebody's playing the music.
These people get it. These people get it.
I want to scream. Well, Jeff, you're thinking too hard about this. No, I want to be able to watch something and not feel like a moron. And this week has been bad.
Yeah, no, between All Out and Raw, like, I will say this. There was a burnout effect for me going into NXT, where I was less open-minded to that show, which, as I look back retrospectively, when you get rid of the, I mean, we'll be like, well, when you get rid of the bad stuff, the good stuff's good. But, like, there's actually a good amount of good stuff here that balance out the bad stuff. And, like, in a more normal week where you didn't have an overwhelmingly bad Raw and an overwhelmingly bad pay-per-view from AEW, I think I'd be pretty positive on this NXT show as TV.
And ratings were up for both of them. I mean, why not keep NXT on Tuesday at this point?
And why not give Mercedes Martinez more time to develop? One thing I am not bullish on is this retribution angle. I think this is going to be increasingly stupid as weeks go on.
She doesn't need time to. She doesn't need time to develop. I'm
saying develop as an on-screen personality. I know that she doesn't need time to develop in the ring. I'm aware of that.
I guess so. I think she has her personality down pretty well. It's just all the people that they have in Retribution right now. Because I've already spoiled that one, but the people in that promo, I believe it's been kind of speculated because I thought one of them was Tommaso, but I don't think that's Tommaso. I think that's Shane Nichols. I think it's Shane Nichols, Mia Yim, Mercedes, Dijakovic, and I think Dio Matt is the big guy with the hood, or it's Eric Rowan. I can't tell which one it is, but these guys just scream red shirts to me. They're good veteran hands that they don't see as star power. Bring them in, get them beat, and get out. That's what it seems like to me, and I think I'd much rather have Mercedes Martinez be with Shayna Baszler as a tag team right now than Nia Jax. But, I love this cage match. We're going into the main event now. I could have done without Robert Stone histrionics on the cage. I get it, though. He's a manager. This is what you're supposed to do. Kind of. I just think he's never shown himself to be competent. So, it doesn't affect me when,
I think Robert Stone as a character is someone who they came up with an initial visual concept.
Do you think he's the Tony Khan commentary? Do you think that's true? Because I've seen a lot of people push out against that.
I am less convinced of it, but I also think that maybe they saw a few pictures of Tony Khan and that's kind of where they initially built this off of. But I mean, he's obviously different than that too. And Khan is not that caricature, and it's also so inside baseball. If you really believe that, it's stuff that I don't necessarily I don't know that necessarily translates. But
they're not doing any Khan commentary on him. They would let's take this for example, because I blocked this out of my head even though it just happened about an hour and a half ago. The Paul Heyman Penguin character.
He's a walrus.
A walrus,
God,
sorry, with a walrus.
On, man. He's wobbly walrus.
What point is this? Are they gonna rebuild Bray?
Well, you see, Jeff, here's the thing. Here's the thing to think about. Paul Heyman is fat. A lot of people call him. They call him. You'll like this. You'll find this funny. They call him the Walrus, and that is because he's kind of a big guy,
Oh, but just the Vince puppet and the Heyman puppet and Miro and the brass ring stuff. This is just it turns me off. I know some people like it. It turns me off, but also we talked a little bit about this before the show, but we need to get this on air now. All right, is Bray a babyface or is he a heel? Because if he's a babyface, why is he brainwashing Alexa Bliss?
While talking about Paul Heyman.
Exactly.
I think it's, okay, so first and foremost, I think it's a mistake to bring Bray back into this story right now because the way they're trying to reintroduce him, if he can make a puppet any week that he wants, this is how deep you're going to go with it. More importantly, you've got a really great story that I'm actually into in Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso that doesn't need Bray Wyatt and his puppet of Paul Heyman undermining the heel build of Roman Reigns. So this is kind of counterproductive on two levels. It's counterproductive when it comes to Bray Wyatt because you've got him messing with Alexa's mind. That is the story that is being told. We see that playing out with Alexa and Nikki Cross. Then this vibe on Bray Wyat's Playhouse this week was very much heelish, but the people he was going after were also heels. This is a mess. This Bray Wyatt...
Unless they're not even going to mention Bray with Alexa Bliss, it's just, Alexa Bliss was touched by Bray, and she's on her own, and this is happening to her, which makes no sense either.
That wouldn't have been my verb choice in that last sentence there, but yeah, no.
You
said Alexa Bliss was touched by Bray.
Oh, well, you know what I meant.
Yeah. But no, I'm with you here. I think that this is a mistake on multiple levels. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, is Paul, did Heyman say he's the reigning champion?
Yes, that also played that has to go. That has to go. That's so campy. And the other thing about the Bray Wyatt thing,
I loved the tone of that promo up until that point. And then I just went, did he just say that?
He's been saying it for a couple of weeks now. It's bad.
Okay.
The other problem though with the Bray Wyatt thing was just like having the Paul Heyman Walrus thing next to the Husky puppet. Like the pig puppet is like a reference to the fact that Bray Wyatt used to get mocked for being overweight. Like it's just, I don't know. The whole thing was very perverse. And yes, I hate the reigning defending champion. That's kind of campy, and I like this pairing, but this does seem very much like a rush job without kind of that kind of recurring problem of long-term story arc. I don't even know. Paul Heyman doesn't seem confident that he is going to be paired with Roman Reigns for a long extension of time. And I think he needs to have knowledge that this pairing is a pairing that is going to last for a while before he can really be maximum Paul Heyman.
Yeah, and I think like the Mr. Brody character on AEW, I just find that this is going to be for like a fourth of the audience. These inside jokes, like I'm almost positive
they lost the thread on just the Vince McMahon rib too. Now he's like kind of like a weird, just angry sort of cult leader sometimes. But then, and like they're sort of a cult and they're sort of brainwashed, but sometimes they're not really brainwashed, but they are kind of brainwashed. But Silver's definitely brainwashed. It's
well, but I'm just on the meta commentary kind of thing. Like the Vince puppet goes, what in the my house is going on here? You know, because of course the devil Vince character is from hell. You know, it touches it's I can be self-deprecating, but at the same time, that means you have to be self-deprecating about your weight as well. It feels like, I'm making fun of myself, so I should be able to make fun of you, and you should be able to make fun of yourself as well. It makes me vaguely uncomfortable.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's not like deep discomfort, but it's like, you know, it's like when you bite into a sandwich and it's got a flavor in there and you can't really put your finger on it, but you don't like it.
Yeah, it's going to get a little too inside baseball, possibly. I think, you know, they may, you know, wow. Wobbly Walrus is going to have a playhouse inside a bingo hall, and it's going to go out of business. Yup. You know, whatever. You know, they can just stay on the. They can just stay on the physical. I don't see the point of it unless they're rebuilding up to the Roman rematch, other than to take shots at Heyman. And I don't think that's the right time because he is the manager right now of your biggest act.
And I really think the focus needs to be on the Uso Reigns dynamic because you want to get over what's changed about Roman when it comes to his family. And like, I want this match against Jimmy to be merciless. I want Roman to beat Jimmy Uso within an inch of his life. Like I don't know if WWE doesn't do color, but it'd be really cool if they did, because like that's what I want Roman Reigns to do. I want him to dismantle Jimmy Uso, and like I want Jimmy Uso at the end of that match to be looking at Roman Reigns going, why are you doing this? And then Roman Reigns just spears him.
Yeah, like I dug the part like, hey, we ain't kids anymore part, but
Yes!
it seems like Jimmy Uso is a lack of focus type thing right now, and realizing that Roman's not a heel, because it's like, oh, Roman just decides to show up late to the tag match, take the win. And it's kind of like, do you not get that he's a jerk now, dude? It's a little too much stupid babyface syndrome.
Yeah.
Whereas I kind of want to see the
finish
fight
on SmackDown was like weird, right? Like where
Yeah.
like he holds up the title, so it's like this knowing thing. But then, like, Reigns really is a heel at this point, so, like, that's where he should have, like, snatched away from Jimmy. And, like, that's the first time we should have really seen that clear, like, Roman's been playing it cool right now, right? But as a heel, he can't actually be cool with this stuff. He can't actually tolerate it. He needs to give the facade of tolerance, and when that facade breaks down underneath its unbelievable cruelty and intensity.
Let's revisit Aunt Pam to end this. I think it's weird, because I liked what WWE did with the video package, with Sasha Banks being kind of the cheerleading babyface saying, let's go back and get our titles. I liked that Bayley pinpointed that she thought that Sasha was going to turn on her. I wish she had shown video of, those vague looks and stuff like that, and actually make her have a good point. This is one of the few times I'd ever say the heel should have a good point in turning heel and saying these things. And this will make Sasha, hopefully, try and mend her ways. I think Sasha needs a redemption process of some ways after being the boss for so often, as opposed to just straight up, I'm a babyface now, all good, with the other baby faces in the locker room. I want that discomfort. I want this to be a deeper character building thing for Sasha, other than just, I'm out to get Bayley for turning on me, saying, maybe she was right, maybe I need to change something in myself, kind of thing.
Yeah, but you just don't want to give Bayley too much of a point here. And
that's the danger. That's the danger.
And the problem here is the finish of this story has really relied heavily on retroactive continuity to try to make coherence out of incoherence. And if this had been more smoothly executed, this would be like one of the better stories that they had put together over the last 5 years here, because this has been a lot of fun. I just, like, it was hard for me to go with it was a plan all along, because the story on my TV screen has not really reflected a Bayley knows that it's a plan all along, and she's just laying low like a snake in the grass to stab Sasha in the back before she gets stabbed in the back. Here's the other problem.
You know what? No, I want to go up, because that's a very good point you just made, because that's something I had skipped over that part of the promo, but you're right. It should have been, we were legitimately friends, and we were getting what we wanted. And as soon as you didn't get what you wanted, I could see you were going to start to turn on me. So I did, as opposed to, I always was going to use you just to get what I wanted, and then I was going to dump you later. That's mustache twirling. That's not smart villain.
Right, and it makes it hard for Sasha to get repositioned in a favorable light, which is where this ultimately has to go. It's kind of a miss in terms of getting on the off-ramp of this storyline here, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, at least they didn't bring her back this week.
No, okay, so, I mean, like, they're still doing more things right than they are doing wrong with it.
Yes, the silence on social media is great. I like that a lot.
Less is more, often.
Less is more. Yeah, I this was one that needed more nuance instead of, but, WWE doesn't do nuance that well. It has to be big and bold, because us stupid people would never get nuance at all.
A sneaky match that won't go away. Otis and Tucker versus The Miz and John Morrison. We talk often about Andrade and the Street Profits, but this pairing is quickly moving into that territory.
I hate this program, and I'll tell you why. Because it's the possession is 9/10 rule of the contract, which it should be. You won the contract. If you have the contract and it's in, even if it's not in the briefcase,
it's supposed to be signed, right? Like the contract, when you win it, you sign the contract and then you hand in the contract. Because like you wouldn't just hand in a blank contract. Like the contract is supposed to have
carrying
your signature.
around like a giant novelty check that's signed, but it's not made out to Otis.
Yeah, a giant blank check, and it's.
And it's like, well, anybody can sign their name because Otis never put his name on the contract. Like, that would just make him the dumbest geek ever.
Oh, yeah, Tucky, I can't wait to cash in this $1 million check. Why don't you put your name on it, Otis? No way, Tucky. Best part is putting your name on the front and then putting your name on the back, Tucky.
Oh, Tucky, why is your name on this contract? And Tucker just knocks him out.
I was just testing my signature with the pen.
Yeah. Oh. Is this ketchup? It's like, no, he won the match. He has the contract. It's not like, it's not like a title belt where, if I steal the briefcase, well, I guess no. God, I can't even do that right because they've used it as I'll put my briefcase up for grabs, but that was at least in the context of a match versus stealing it.
And Otis really does feel like an absolute goof in the backdrop of what they're trying to do right now with Roman Reigns.
He has to lose. He has to lose his contract though in order to do it, right? I mean, he's never going to cash in.
I mean, if he does cash in, one, he will do it in the babyface stupid way where he tells Roman Reigns well in advance that he wants to cash in his contract so that
it's the honorable thing to do. Oh, yeah.
And negate the entire purpose of the Money in the Bank contract. Oh, yeah, Tucky.
I don't want to take advantage of Roman.
Which will be funny after he spent all this time talking about strategy with Tucky at the beginning of him getting the briefcase.
That would make him even stupider, but no, he's going to get tricked out of this contract and then someone like The Miz is going to try and cash in. And get speared or something. I don't know. Why would a heel? But then, Joe, why would a heel cash in on Roman? You're right. But there's no way they're giving this title to Otis.
No, especially not when they're in a big main event push with Roman and Paul Heyman. This is kind of, not to backtrack entirely to the AEW thing. This is the other problem, though, with their main event, right? They telegraphed the finish of that main event by giving away who won the Battle Royal, right? Like, once you know Lance Archer wins that Battle Royal, it's no doubt in your mind that Moxley's going over in the main event because Archer's a heel and MJF's a heel. In the same way that you've got this problem with Otis right now in the Money in the Bank briefcase. Everyone knows that this guy is not going to cash in successfully for Roman Reigns' title. Like, if he goes up against Roman Reigns, WWE is not having Roman Reigns put over Otis Dozovich.
I want Roman to kill him. I want Roman to Brock Lesnar him into oblivion.
No, and that's honestly the best way I want that
because it would help with his sympathy too, because I don't have any sympathy for Otis anymore.
I want him to be completely surprised by it, but same. I kind of want the same thing with the Jimmy Uso thing where, like, Roman goes way too far, and it's like Paul Heyman's just delighting on the outside as Roman's being unbelievably cruel and methodical and just dismantling Otis Dozovich and then putting him away. But that's the other problem, too, with the arrive, wreck shop, and leave thing that they're doing with Roman's gimmick. The whole point of a heel...
It's too on the nose.
Well, no, one, okay, so it's like super on the nose, right? But two, the other part of the heel, and it's a key part of the heel dynamic, is the heel dynamic slow and methodical and it takes time. When someone shows up and does a really cool thing and leaves, they're a babyface. Stone Cold with the Stone Cold Stunner. He shows up, glass shatters, he hits him with the Stone Cold Stunner, and he leaves. If
Goldberg with his 20-second matches. Right. Magnum TA with his 20-second matches. Yeah, that's a babyface thing. That's not a heel thing.
Right. They did an okay job kind of masking it this week with Jimmy Uso in this one scenario. But, really, Roman Reigns his match, people used to complain about the methodical pace of his matches before. He should be feasting in that now.
I agree. That's all the time I'm going to give to wrestling this week. I'm going to go watch something enjoyable. Probably not sports because that scares the heck out of me in our times right now. But
you know what I've been watching? I told you this over the last couple weeks here. I've been watching The Avengers, and Diana Rigg just passed this week. Rest in
oh
peace,
yeah, no,
Mrs.
she's
Peel.
great.
Oh, I know. She's fantastic. If you guys have never seen The Avengers, in black and white or in color, they are both very, very fun.
And she was drop dead perfect in Game of Thrones as well as the Queen of Thrones, or Queen of Thorns as the nickname. Just a perfect port from the book, and she stole every scene she was in there. So rest in peace to the great Diana Rigg. Once again, I'd like to thank my bookie. Use code ROPES, double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play. Also like to thank Keeps. Get your first treatment for free. Just use the code SHAKEROPES at checkout. You can follow me at CrapGame13. You can follow you can follow Shake Them Ropes at Shake Them Ropes. You can follow the show at Shake Them Ropes. You can follow Chris Novembrino at Chris Novembrino. Chris also does other podcasts of other variety. I don't have time for such things. Chris, what are you working on?
I'm working on Don't Worry About the Government, which you can find over at don'tworry.tv. Go and check it out. Follow us at DWATG. Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. That's Don't Worry About the Government.
Enjoy your weekend.